Questions for Coach?
Brent, looking at the starting lineup, it wasn't mostly a surprise to, I think, a lot of folks, but just wanted to get your comments or on your feeling of the talent depth, for the year and where it's going to take you.
I think we have really good depth at some position. I think if you think about our defensive line and getting some of those people back from injury a year ago and what they have been in terms of productivity over time is really, really exciting. We're finally getting to be a little bit older team, a little bit more mature team, which I think is also good. It's also that funny kind of give and take, right? Because with COVID year last year, or super seniors kind of in another group of super seniors, you're going to end up having a big, massive backfill of young players this year and then next year. So half of that group is here, and they're learning fast, and it's messy. But it's been good. They've been competing and practicing really, really hard. I think our coaching staff did a really good job of bringing in a great group of recruits. So I think we feel as good about our depth as we have in a long time. But that's all relative, right? You lose one player and everybody feels like the sky is falling. So hopefully we can play good football and stay healthy and just continue that way throughout the season.
What have you and your coaching staff learned when you're bringing in a quarterback and two key receivers from the conference?
Well, I think the benefit is that we had spring practice with those guys. I think it'd be more challenging if they just showed up in fall camp. The fact that they were here for an entire off season gives them a chance to get an idea how we operate, obviously understand the scheme pretty well, and then also get to work with each other. So I think having that time gives all of us a chance to get to know each other, get to know what people are good at, get to know how what they're not good at, and what we want to try and do with those guys at all those respective positions. And it's nice to have upperclassmen. If you're asking what have we learned, like plain and simple, it's nice to have guys that have played a lot of football, that understand what it takes to be successful in this conference, that understand what it takes to be successful just at college football. And so adding those guys has been really key for us.
Brent, if you look at Coach Barnum's lineup, retooled, reloaded, a lot of Mountain West flavor in there, and people see FCS, you're supposed to beat them, they're heavily favored, but how do you break that misconception to maybe the audience, like regular folks, but to your players to not be overconfident and look at this as just...
I think our players know exactly what this is. There's not a real separation between FCS and FBS anymore, and we should all remember that we got our butts whooped by UC Davis here a couple years ago, and that wasn't any fun. So everybody can play. If you're playing Division I football, you can play, and if you're not ready, it doesn't matter who you line up against, it can go the wrong way. And so but for our team, it has been all of fall camp, all this off season has been just focusing on process and just locking into what that is, right? Like just this moment and this day or this rep or this meeting, this practice, like we have leaned so heavy on that because we felt like we got out of that a year ago. So that's where we've been. I'm on a massive allergy attack here.
I'm curious about the veteran presence on defense. Do you have any specific examples you can pinpoint from training camp where you saw a veteran taking to a freshman or somebody younger?
Well, I think you see a lot of that in that linebacker group with Kyle Harmon and Jordan Cobbs and Raheem Johnson. We've got a couple young players in there in Brian Parham and Jordan Pollard, and I think that part of it, you see them wrapping their arms around them, coaching them up on the side. There's been a lot of that all over the field, which has been really, really encouraging. You've seen some of that with Chevin and Nick Nash and Tyler Voss, right, who's a young player. I think one of the cool things that happens as you've been in college football for a while, you realize how valuable it is to have somebody who's older than you and gets it and understands the scheme help you in your development. And I think those guys have been really great about taking those young guys under their wing. And you've seen in the offensive line with Jaime and some of those freshman players that either just got here or got here a year ago, that we're expecting to play for us. So I think anytime you get upperclassmen kind of trying to lift everybody up, it gives your team a chance to really grow, and it's pretty cool.
It's going to be a big game for Shevin. People on the island's going to definitely be watching him. And he did pretty well against the Vikings last year, if I recall, when he played the Vikings when he was in Hawaii. Can you, from your perspective, comment on his, at least from my perspective, seeing him in practice, looks very cerebral, very serious, but like maybe in the study room and whatnot, what's your perspective, his mental approach and whatnot?
No, he is serious, right? He takes the football very seriously, which we love. That part of it, he's one of those guys. He's kind of a junkie. He's always around the building. And then when we're out there, that part of it was exciting to see him kind of step into the scheme in the spring and really gain command of it quickly. Is one of the things that, Coach McGivern said early on in spring practice. He said, I've never had a kid be able to absorb what we're teaching this fast. Like, it's really, really impressive. And so part of that is just kind of who he is. But definitely when he's around here, he's a lot more fun and will give guys a hard time and can smile and laugh and has really, really good energy. And when he's out there on the field, he is crazy competitive. And so it is serious and it is business. And that's the way we like it,
Pretty simple, but what will it take to reach heights that you reached in 2020?
That was such a unique year, Honestly, like, we don't even think that way. We're not even talking about that season around here right now. We're really just focusing on this game. And, you only get to play one game a week, and they all mean the same in the final tally. And so all we're worried about is playing our best football against Portland State Thursday night in Sefke Stadium at 7:30. That's absolutely where we're at. We are all about our process over outcome, and we just need to do our job and play good football and let the chips fall where they may.
And as a follow-up to that, is that something the team fell in the habit of in 2021, where thinking so much about the end of the season versus the game at hand, like you were just talking about?
Absolutely. I think everybody around here, myself, every person, got so caught up in, kind of the final tally and, what that was coming off 2020. And it was unhealthy for us. It wasn't good, and we didn't handle it well. And so that's one of those things as a coach, as a coaching staff, that when we get into the offseason, we dig into that, what didn't go right? What could we have done better? And that was one of our things that we dug deep into, and we felt like that became too much of the conversation, was what happens at the end. The end doesn't matter if you don't play well early, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So that's why we are just we're 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 practice at a time. That's all that matters to us. Because when we start thinking about things outside of what's happening right now, we get our asses kicked, and it wasn't fun. So we need to be right now, and that's where we need to live all season.
Any more questions for Coach? All right. Thank you, Coach.
Good seeing y'all.